keep higher spending districts from running away, that is, give them a little bit of increase, but cap their increase, not their cut, and give any increases going to the lower spending and close the gap over time. And that's exactly what we did. It came from the Harden-Runkle Commission. It's like I already had a plane tested in the drawer and I just pulled it out. And that's how we came. Now, we talked about a number of issues. I will say this, however. The initial proposal was to, in terms of finance, was nothing in terms of homestead property taxes. We now have 6 for schools, but we didn't have that. When I wrote it, I wrote a 4% transfer tax on property. Well, the real estate industry went ballistic, and so we had to back off, and we needed money. So I said, what's the difference between paying it every year or paying it once when you sell the house? You know, if it's going to be on the house, you want it every year a little, or do you want a lot at once? And they said, we want a little each year. I said, okay. So we backed off. But the reason that was important in my life is because we recommended in that report the elimination of something called the State Tax Commission, because we were going to eliminate the need for the state to be in the property tax business at all. It'd be all entirely local, and locals would run it in terms. Well, since then, of course, I've ultimately been on the State Tax Commission a long time, so there's a little bit of humor.
You were writing yourself out of a job, is what you're saying.
In terms of that. One issue I want to get on record again is state and local finance in terms of property taxes. We proposed at that time to locals that they received something called statutory revenue sharing. And we said, not constitutional, statutory revenue sharing, we're going to eliminate it. Ooh, they didn't like that. I said, but we will give you the authority to levy property tax by a vote of the elected officials only, not a vote of the people. That is, if it's a county tax, the county commissioners can vote for it. If it's a city, the city council, the local officials can vote for it. Now, of course, the locals decided they didn't want any part of it. We wanted school finance first, so we dropped it. I'm telling you, it wasn't but a couple of years later the legislature eliminated all of statutory revenue sharing. They had the opportunity and they walked from it. And I just want to remind them for history that we gave them the opportunity and they said, no, why should we be forced to vote for a tax when we get statutory revenue sharing for free? And then they lost it. So in any event, that's in 65 days we put it together. The governor went before a joint session of the legislature. I think it was like something like October 5th, and he delivered it. And now I cannot say enough good about what I thought was the best of the legislative process. And I mean that as sincerely as I can. As you pointed out earlier, the legislature, the House was 55-55. I didn't think it would ever work. Paul Hilligans and Curtis Hertel Sr. were the 2 co-speakers. I don't think it ever worked any better. They were 2 remarkable gentlemen. They ran the House. I didn't think it could work. They just did a terrific job. But when you, with neither party even having a majority, and we're trying to rewrite school finance, and we need a 2/3 vote to put something on the ballot, are you kidding me? This is like impossible. The House appointed a 14-member committee, 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats, and they worked very hard to try to come up with amendments to our proposal that would make it more palatable to them. The Senate also worked on it. The one issue about some of the ultimate outcomes is obviously we have 6 mills now on homestead property. We didn't have that before. We also have a situation in which people ask me, Doug, why did you write what we now know is called the 5% cap on property tax? That is, taxable value can only go up by 5% or inflation, whichever is less. And the answer is, I didn't write it. We did not propose it. That was part of the legislative adjustments. It was proposed in the House by Karen Willard, a Democrat. It got 77 votes in the House. Remember, there's only 55 Democrats and 55 Republicans. And it was put on. We supported it. I'm not running from it because we thought it would help us pass it, but it wasn't something we proposed. So, I mean, everybody's got a little finger of that in terms of what ultimately went. Now, the Democrats, to their credit, said to the governor, because I was in the room when they came, Governor, as you know, every one of these proposals, which is a sales tax increase and a property tax cut, went down to defeat. What happens in our special election, which is in March, if we go down to defeat? We lost $7 billion in taxes. So they said, we need a backup plan in case you fail. And I wasn't sure we were going to pass. I'm there. I mean, I think Bob Emerson was the state representative at the time, came in and was making a case for the House Democrats and said, we want an income tax as a fallback. Now remember, they really want to pin the income tax on John Engler because of the recalls and everything else. So John Engler's listening, and he says, fine. And they said, now you understand, you have to sign all these bills before the vote. You can't wait to after the vote. He said, yes, I understand. So we're going to sign all the backup bills to both our plan, the constitutional plan, and the backup plan, which was basically a 6% income tax and some other differences. And if one failed, then the other one would become law. Bob Emerson leaves. I look at the governor and I said, why did you agree to that? And he said, because if I can't defeat an income tax with the sales tax, shame on me. And whether you like it or not, we ran against the income tax. Now, we ran against something else. We ran against tobacco. The irony of the tobacco story is almost beyond comprehension.
And for people that don't know, they literally put millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, no, that's absolutely true. But let me tell you how this happened.
Defeat Proposal
That's
A.
correct. But let me tell you how this happened. I was involved at the very beginning. The governor was proposing increase. I wrote it. We're proposing increases of the cigarette tax from 25 cents at that time to 75 cents. It's a big number. Okay? And I remember being in the meeting with Governor Engler and Mike Murphy, who is a professional pro. And I said to the governor, let's drop the cigarette tax proposal. And I said, the tobacco companies are going to spend $4 to $5 million trying to defeat us. It isn't worth this issue. We need to pass Proposal A. Mike Murphy was spot on. He said to the governor, in my presence, he said, Doug's almost right. He said, I've been involved in some of these campaigns in other states. Let them, and we'll run against them. And lo and behold, you have the MEA opposing us, and their sidekick is the tobacco companies. Now, how you maneuvered that is just because the backup proposal was an increase in the cigarette tax from 25 cents to 40 cents. So the tobacco companies preferred that over increasing it to 75 cents. Well, I'm telling you, I never saw something play out that way. They would have an ad. The ad may have even had a point. What would be our response? Well, look who's paying for it, the tobacco companies. And the thing passes 69 to 31. It was a stunning achievement.
The 69 to 31 is what you're talking about when the public actually voted on the proposal in March. But let's not get right there right away.
Sorry.
There's a couple of points to bring up. It was an incredibly intense time.
Yes, it was.
I mean, as a reporter, I was putting in 16, 18-hour days, sometimes more than that. And you had a particular issue going on at the same time, a particular personal issue. I don't want to be too melodramatic about it, but while you were working on Proposal A, you honestly and occasionally thought you were going to die.
I did. And I think it was October. I'm in the middle of this issue, and I am diagnosed with a brain tumor. Now, fortunately, it's not a Senator McCain brain tumor. The doctors, after we weren't sure, because you have an MRI, you have a brain tumor. Not exactly sure. But I went to enough that they were reasonably certain that it was a non-malignant brain tumor, but had to come out because it would affect. But it's slow growing, and so I was going to risk a lot, but we weren't completely sure. And I said, I want to finish this. And so I told my family and I told the governor, but nobody else knew. And so we finished everything we needed to do. And the only time that health issue became at all an item was after the 30-hour session, which was like the day before Christmas. I've been up, I'm really tired, everybody's tired. The governor gives a press conference on what just accomplished, and John Trescott, who's still around, comes to me, and he's handling the governor's press, says, Governor would like you to give a press conference on the details. And I said, no. He said, no. He said, I said, tell the governor, no, I won't do it. I can't do it. And what I was afraid was I couldn't keep it together because I wasn't sure I was coming back.
I remember you telling me once that you felt quite emotional. You really thought that you had accomplished this, and this might be the very last thing you would be remembered for.
Even if you didn't remember, anytime they start poking around in your skull, it isn't necessarily that you don't come out, but you may not have the job again. You may not be the same person. I mean, anytime they start punching around in there. You don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I thought this may be the last thing I ever did, and frankly, I was very proud of it. I still am.
And what's astonishing to me is I remember being continually exhausted
I was.
during this period of time as a reporter. I can't imagine what you must have been feeling. How did the situation with the tumor? Were there times when you thought, "Screw it, I'm not going to do this anymore," or did it just say to you, "I have to do this. I have to do this"?
Yes, it worked exactly the other way. Is that I don't have a second chance. I have to do this. Yeah, no, it was absolutely an encouragement that there is no choice. You're going to do this.
And now, it'll be 25 years this July from that fateful night. How would you assess Proposal A overall?
Let's put it this way. I will give it one thing. I think Proposal A has been enormously successful in this sense. First, schools are open. What do you mean open? People forget, in 1993, just prior to Proposal A, Kalkaska closed because people said, well, people won't ever do that. You had to vote school millage. If you could vote yes, you can vote no. And Kalkaska was running out of the money, and they went back to their people 3 times, and the people said no, so they closed. So at a minimum, we're open.